Top 3 tankiest Warframes in the game. Who are they? What are they? And how tanky are they really? And you might be saying, well, Gaming Weasel, every single Warframe can be tanky. Just use Brief Respite and Shield Gating and you're pretty much done. Well, for Shield Gating you sort of have to, keep in mind Rolling Guard, you have to sacrifice a mod slot to always have Brief Respite, Dragon Key, so on and so forth. With these Warframes you just basically run, destroy, and nothing in the game can kill you. Of course, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna die nonetheless, but with these Warframes, it's much easier to survive higher level gameplay than with other Warframes. And of course, there are plenty of tanky Warframes. These are my top 3 picks because honestly, these 3 Warframes are always good to have, and always, like, when you get pissed off, you get destroyed when you're trying to shield gate, well, pick these Warframes and basically survive everything. So without any more dilly-dallying, let's get straight into the top 3. At the number 3, we have Nidus and Nidus Prime. Gaining his mutagen stacks will allow you to do more damage and will allow you to basically survive as long as you have 10 mutagen stacks. You gain these mutagen stacks by doing damage and hitting targets with Virulence, Ravenous, and also you have an extra 50% chance if they are in Larva, which is your 3rd ability. Now, we do have Teeming Virulence Augment as well, increasing the critical chance depending on how many targets you hit with, of course, the Virulence ability, which is your 1st ability. What allows this Warframe to survive basically anything and anybody in Warframe? Well, Virulence gains you stacks basically and does damage, increasing the damage over time and depending on how many stacks of mutation you have. Larva brings enemies closer, really good for AoEing enemies and crowd controlling them, yes. We have Parasitic Link. Now, this is what it makes you survive basically the longest. Tether your Parasitic Link, of course, to an enemy to gain a damage reduction up to 90%. Basically, all the damage that's done is basically gonna go to the actual parasitic target. Now, keep in mind, you have to keep this within range and also keep the target alive, and if it does die, well, then just basically cast it on another one, and there you go, you're pretty much refreshed. And Ravenous, this will basically, of course, summon little maggots that do incredible amounts of damage, and also attack little targets, gaining you stacks as well. Keep in mind, as a Warframe, the only ability that actually uses energy is his 3rd ability. With, of course, Virulence, you do use up energy, but you also gain it back. So basically, the more targets you hit with Virulence, the more energy you gain back. And with this build, you're not gonna have a problem with energy. Of course, when Arcane Guardian procs, you're gonna be getting even more armor on top of the incredible armor that this Warframe has. So basically, Ravenous heals you over time. Your 4th ability, 3rd ability gives you 9% damage reduction, and of course, crowd controlling with Larva, and 1st ability basically doing damage and also gaining you energy and critical chance. I think that this Warframe is incredibly good if you're staying in one position, not moving around a lot on the map, and basically if you want to survive, basically keep your 3 and your 4 up, and there you go, you are alive, you're not gonna die anytime soon. And of course, even if you do, sacrifice 10 stacks, and then there you go, you're back at half HP and you're pretty much ready to go. So moving on to number 2. At number 2, we have our juicy meatball of doom. Yes, it is a Grendel. Grendel's been reworked a couple of months back, and now he can survive almost anything, if not everything, inside of Steel Path. First of all, his passive. Every enemy in your belly will give you 250 armor per enemy will. And as a maximum, you can gain 1250 armor per, of course, 5 enemies. Now, 1st ability allows you to feast on those juicy enemies, and if you hold this, you can spew them out, but we don't want to do that with this ability. 2nd ability, Nourish, giving you a lot of health, giving you viral damage on your weapons, and also an increased energy pickup. So let's say instead of 50 energy, you're gonna collect, let's say, 180 energy. So very good sustain on that ability. And of course, Pulverize. Pulverize allowing you to turn into your little ball form. Basically, this ability has been changed the most, allowing you to activate all 3 other abilities whilst you're in this form. First of all, this form also moves much better, can armor strip, gives you health per second, does impact and toxin damage, and it's really good for crowd controlling as well, because you're going to be ragdolling everything to oblivion, and you're also going to be armor stripping them as well. And then regurgitate. Basically, you have 5 enemies in your belly, spew one of them out, or if not, all of them, and deal incredible amounts of toxin damage and armor, also armor strip the enemies. Honestly, his set is incredibly good. Basically, all you need to do is stay alive, is activate Pulverize, have Nourish almost always active, have 5 enemies in your belly, and then once you come across a big group of enemies, just nuke them with your Regurgitate and you're pretty much set. With this Warframe, it's incredibly easy to survive. Basically, if an Acolyte does appear, just, exit out of your ball form, activate Nourish, gain loads of health, gain loads of armor with, of course, the 5 enemies in your belly, Regurgitate on the Acolyte, and it's pretty much going to die. And if it doesn't have any armor, so you can just basically shoot it down with even a Lato if you have one equipped in Steel Path for some other reason. So yeah, that's been our fat boy Grendel, an incredibly good Warframe and can basically survive anything, basically like the other 2 Warframes on this list. So moving on to number 1. At the number 1, we of course have Revenant and Revenant Prime. I think we were all expecting him to be in the first spot, and of course he mostly survives through his second ability, Mesmer Skin, but just for the consistency of the video, let's cover his other 3 abilities. Enthrall basically allows you to convert enemies into your little thralls, shooting their allies, and then of course you can use your 3rd ability to go through them to basically insta-kill them, but this first ability is mostly used for crowd controlling. If you want some extra pesky enemies off of your back, you're pretty much gonna use Enthrall. Now, Mesmer Skin is of course his 2nd ability. This will allow you to survive basically anything, and this is really dependent on power strength, so that's why you saw me basically go full power strength Revenant. Now, he did get a new augment for this ability, which allows you to share your Mesmer Skin with allies, which is very nice. And we have a 3rd ability, Reeve. Basically, you can dash through enemies and you drain their shields and health, and also gain health back, so that's pretty cool. And Dance Macabre, you spin around like a Beyblade, doing damage and applying status effects and damage to, that's basically it. So Mesmer Skin, let's move on back to that one. Mesmer Skin is an ability that basically when an enemy shoots you, first of all, he falls asleep and he uses up 1 Mesmer Skin, I guess, count. That's what I was going to call it. And after that, you're going to be basically going lower and lower, and then activate it at a certain point, and then you're pretty much going to survive. Just activate your Mesmer Skin every time it's going to run out, and it doesn't matter how much damage the actual attack has. It doesn't matter if it does 2000 damage or does 1 damage. Mesmer Skin is going to absorb it, which makes it really good for endgame, in the sense that Mesmer Skin is really good against any sort of damage, either it be high level or low level. Now, the Warframe itself is pretty good, but in my opinion, I'd change out my Dance Macabre for Roar just to make his damage output a little bit higher, even though Dance Macabre can be pretty useful for leveling up the actual Warframe, but other than that, I don't really find a use for Dance Macabre in high-end gameplay. Reeve can be pretty good if you lose some health, and Enthrall could be pretty good for crowd controlling, and that's basically it. So, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have maybe some other Warframes you want to put in the list, definitely do that. And this has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out.